First off, a calico cat is also known as a tricolor cat, and it's any cat that has a combination of orange and black pigment in their coat along with white. Genetically, what this means is that the cat has genes that cause them to have both of the types of pigment that are possible for a cat to have. One is pheomelanin, which causes them to have orange colors, and the other is eumelanin, which causes them to have black colors. These come together to create an orange and black coat. But what about those white patches? Those come from a separate gene, which is referred to as a white spotting gene, and it causes those pigments to just not show up in certain areas on the body. This occurs during the embryo's development, and it can form into a wide variety of patterns. So your calico cat's pattern is unique. At this point, you might be thinking about tortoiseshell cats and how they also have black and orange at the same time in their coat. And yes, a calico cat is fundamentally the same as a tortoiseshell cat. The only difference is that they also have white. My second fact is that calico cats are almost all female. So you have to remember that the genes that cause coat colors are sex-linked genes. In order to have both black and orange on the same cat, you need to have two X chromosomes. This occurs during a process called X-linked inactivation. You have one black X and you have one orange X, and one of those or the other is turned off according to some seemingly random pattern across the body. So X inactivation turns off those X's in sort of patches and patterns across the body, leading to that combination of orange and black on the coat. Because male cats only have one X chromosome, they don't have the opportunity to experience this X inactivation, and so they will either be orange or black, or some variation on those, but not both. There is one exception to this, and this is a chromosomal abnormality that causes a male cat to have two X chromosomes as well as a Y chromosome. This is very rare, and it only occurs in about 1 in every 3,000 tortoiseshell or calico cats. So if you see a calico cat walking around, you can be pretty sure that that cat is a female. All calico cats are secretly tabbies. So the gene that causes a cat to have an orange coat does not work with the gene that causes a cat to have a solid coat. And so all orange cats are also tabbies. So those orange sections on your calico cat's body are always tabby. It can be kind of subtle and the coat can look solid, but if you look really closely, you'll start noticing some of that tabby patterning. The M on the forehead, the stripes on the arms and legs, the stripes on the tail. You'll be able to see that this cat is secretly tabby. Now, some calico cats have particularly pronounced tabby patterning, and these cats can be described as calibes. Calibes appear in all different types of tabby patterns, so you will see them in mackerel, spotted, classic, and ticked patterns. My next fact is that calico cats don't always look orange, black, and white. There is a dilution gene that can show up in some cats, which will cause the black sections to look kind of blue or gray, and those orange sections to look cream. So it'll look like kind of a soft, kind of washed out calico cat. Next on our list is the origin of the term calico to describe cats with this type of coat. Use of this term dates back in the United States to the early 1800s, and at that time it was in reference to a patterned fabric of the same name. Interestingly, calico cloth is made using a type of weave called a plain weave or a tabby weave. So as it turns out, a lot of our cat pattern words come from cloth. And my last fact is that calico cats may have distinctive personalities. You may have heard of the concept of tortitude, this idea that tortoiseshell cats, again, black and orange cats, tend to have kind of spunky, feisty, independent, headstrong personalities. And as it turns out, it seems that calico cats have all of those same characteristics. Again, the jury is still out. We don't know for certain that this is a real thing.
I'll sometimes hear people using the term tabby to kind of refer to any kind of domestic, non-purebred cat you see on the street, sometimes specifically female cats of this kind. But the term tabby refers to a particular type of coat pattern. So this coat pattern has a few different varieties, which I'll get into in a minute, but it is generally defined as being this kind of multicolored pattern of stripes, swirls, bands, and spots that tend to manifest in these specific patterns across the body. So again, there are a few different types of tabby coats. So the first is called mackerel. It's inspired by its resemblance to the bones of a mackerel fish, or really any kind of fish skeleton. And it is defined by these vertical stripes coming up the cat's flanks. So you'll notice that the sides have these pretty consistent stripes coming up them. The second type of tabby coat is called the classic tabby coat. Perhaps one of the better representations of this is in the American Shorthair. You'll see these very defined thick bands and swirls of that darker coat color. The third type of tabby coat is called a spotted coat, so it looks sort of like the mackerel stripes have been broken up into these little spots, and they will be organized in a similar pattern along the sides of the cat's body. And then the fourth type of tabby coat might not initially strike you as a tabby at all, and it's called a ticked tabby. So all tabby cats have the agouti gene, which causes their fur to have different colors on each strand of hair. So if you look closely at a tabby cat's coat, you'll notice that the strands have multiple colors on them. The way that tabby cats get their stripes and markings is by variation in the different colors on each strand. So the darker parts that are at the top will form the markings of the cat. And while other types of tabbies get these markings from variation in the way the colors are located on each strand, a tick tabby has an even agouti coat, which means that the colors on each strand are pretty much the same all across their body. Ticked tabbies will usually have some stripes on their face, on their neck, and on their tails, but for the most part they have a very even agouti look to them. In addition to the four main types of tabbies, there's a fifth kind of informal grouping, which is called the patch tabby. And this is when you have a cat that's either a tortoiseshell or a calico, and they're also a tabby. So these cats will have orange, black, and sometimes white fur, and it will also incorporate a tabby pattern. So these are referred to as either torbies if they're tortoiseshell, or as calibes if they have white markings as well. Now, regardless of what kind of tabby you have, all of them are going to have this distinctive kind of M on their forehead. So if you look, you'll notice that they have these stripes that kind of form into the shape of an M right there on the forehead. It can be kind of faint, it can be really distinct. Now, we don't know exactly why the fur forms into this pattern on the forehead, but it has given rise to a number of different myths and legends, varying by culture, as to why cats developed this distinctive M on their foreheads. Now, tabby is the most common coat pattern out there, and for good reason. It is the coat pattern that they inherited from their ancestors. So if you look at the African wildcat, they will exhibit a tabby coat. And this is for good reason. A tabby coat offers good camouflage in your cat's ancestors' natural habitat, and compared to, say, a solid black or a solid white coat, or black with little white socks, it offers a lot more protection to that cat. Again, while the average tabby cat is just going to be a non-purebred domesticated cat, you can also see this pattern in pretty much every breed out there.